The Catholics of Oz is brought to you by the Star Quest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give.
This NAIDOC week, the Catholics of Oz would like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri people who are the traditional custodians of this land. I would also like to pay respect to the elders, both past and present, of the Kulin Nation and extend that respect to other Indigenous Australians present.
You're listening to episode 60 of the Catholics of Oz. The Catholics of Oz is a show where we discuss faith, culture, and what's been happening from an Aussie perspective. Whether it's synods or science, apostolates and apps, providence or productivity, you can hear it right now on the Catholics of Oz. Hello, my name is Lindsay. Welcome to episode 60 of the Catholics of Oz. It's good to have you with us for this episode. I am joined by my fidgety sister, Caroline Knight. Caroline, you might want to explain why I said that, but Caroline, how are you and why are you so fidgety today?
I'm good. Can you hear this? I've got the best fidget spinner with poppets on it in the world. I've just been, trying to not play with it while we podcast. So, yeah.
So if anyone hears any indiscriminate spinning during the episode, you know exactly what's going on there.
Yes, it's going to be me. Sorry.
and we're also joined by the dark audacity, Lino Sabol. Lino, there's a reason why I said that, but how are you first of all, Lino?
By the power of Grayskull, I have the power. There's dark audacity. Oh wow! Software works. It's just dark.
It's just
sorry.
It's in dark mode, isn't it?
Yeah. It's just all I can do.
It's throwing you off, Lino.
It is. It is.
So just to give some background to everyone, Lino normally records his episodes, his contribution to the episode on Audacity. However, he switched to Dark Audacity just for just for spyware reasons. You know, there's a few changes. Yeah, we don't want to alarm anyone because everyone's going to make their own choices. But we just thought it'd be nice to have some open source software that doesn't record what you're doing. how you use the software. But anyway, so Lino, welcome to the dark side of Audacity.
I am your father.
It's just going to have all these references now. I'll never join you.
Sorry.
Yeah, we're going to just not do Catholics of Oz today and just do Star Wars lines for 60 minutes, everyone, so enjoy. Before we continue, we'd like to remind everyone to like the Catholics of Oz on SQPN's Facebook page whenever posts about our episodes come up. The Facebook page is at facebook.com/StarQuestMedia, and don't forget to hit that lovely share button as well. And also on Twitter, where you can find the network at SQPN. If you're listening to the Catholics of Oz for the first time, first of all, welcome. You can subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, or your favorite podcast player. SQPN also hosts all of its shows on YouTube, I should say. So just search for SQPN on YouTube, and you can find Catholics of Oz and all of its shows there. Don't forget to hit the bell to get notifications for when new episodes of all of the shows, including this one, are released. And also, please help to share the show by sharing some positive feedback, some lovely 5-star ratings on your favorite podcasting platform. It helps us to reach more people, and that's really what we're all about, is speaking to you who are listening and anyone else who'd like to be part of this conversation as well. So let's begin, guys, with Faith Beyond Borders.
Well, I'm actually feeling rather good about this. I think we've all arrived at a very special place, eh? Oh. Spiritually, ecumenically.
How do you make somebody love you without affecting free will?
Welcome to my world, son. You come up with an answer to that one, you let me know.
Yes, I had to work very hard to pass Latin and theology.
Oh, quite. Those are, of course, the most important things.
Oh, yeah.
I'd sit this one out, Cap.
I don't see how I can.
These guys come from legend. They're basically gods.
There's only one God, man. And I'm pretty sure he doesn't dress like that.
Our Faith Beyond Borders is a topic that I've been thinking about for a while now. So you might have heard us talk before last year and this year as well about going into, first of all, last year, a couple of long COVID lockdowns, Then we got out of it. Then we thought, yeah, we're going to be free. Then we had another lockdown earlier this year. Then that was over. We thought, yeah, we're free again. Then we had another lockdown recently, and we're out of that one. And I think the narrative now in Victoria, at least what I read in some of our local newspapers, Victorian newspapers, is you get used to periods of freedom and lockdowns, periods of freedoms and lockdowns. So I mean, it's good, I guess, in a sense, because we are being protected when cases start to spike, and and we're Australia is not vaccinated very well yet because of some issues with supply. I'm not getting into politics, but yeah, I'm not looking at you, Prime Minister. No, anyway, no,
never.
No, I don't want to finger point. But anyway, the point is, because of different decisions over the last year and a bit, we haven't had access to vaccine yet. So that's happening. But because of that, lockdown is just going to be part of our lives until we can get the proper vaccinations happening in Australia. So there's this article that I found in the Catholic Weekly, and it's something that I've been discussing with other people, just privately, not like, making a big deal out of it, but I've discussed it with Caroline. I did mention it to our little group, in our group chat as well. And Cynthia Fisher wrote this article. Now, she's an American writing from an American perspective. However, she does contribute to the Catholic Weekly, which is a Sydney Catholic publication. And the headline of her article is "Recovering from Harm Caused by the Pandemic." I'm not going to read it word for word, but I'll just give it a bit of a summary, and maybe we can talk about our own experiences or how we relate to it. But she's talking about now, in her case, lucky, her family's been fully vaccinated, which is great. And she said that her family's been talking about how they can start to restore and go back to their daily lives. She said, like so many people, we gave up a lot over the past year, and we're now cautiously figuring out what we can start taking back. And I think for me, this is one of the big things I've been thinking about is, what can I do in terms of getting back into life, considering our start-stop mode that we're getting used to right now. And she's saying that and I'm summarizing and putting words into her mouth a little bit, but the biggest thing that's stopping her from getting back into life is the mental, I don't want to say, damage, but the mental scarring, I guess, in a sense, that she's feeling from having been locked away for such a long time in her particular situation. And even though this is from an American perspective, I think we can relate in a lot of ways. And so she said things like, all right, yes, we can get back into life, but she found it hard, for example, to see when she was doing the right thing during her lockdowns, that there were lots of people who were doing the wrong thing and deliberately resisting and doing the wrong thing, sometimes with poor attitudes, without thinking about what it does to other people. She said, I feel like parts of me have been permanently crippled by the psychological grind of what we had to do. I don't have any regrets, but I'm facing the reality that what happened to us caused real harm. So even though the lockdown for her is over, in a sense, it's not over. There's the after effects as well. And she's saying, that we're not robots. We're not just, we don't just have on and off switches where we can just walk away from something. There's still sort of the leftovers as well. So also what she was saying was that as they come out, people still need to be cautious, but are people being cautious? So now she mentioned, for example, that she knows that there are people at her church who aren't necessarily following, doing the right things. And, we can look at, churches in Victoria, and I'm not, don't want to go Catholic bashing or anything like that, but, I've certainly bumped into a couple of Catholics and I love them. They're, they're good friends of mine, but who'll say things like, I'm not doing QR codes when I go to church, or I'm not going to sanitize or social distance, or, I'm going to take off my mask when no one's watching, things like that. And I guess those are, all right, people want their freedoms, which we all do, but at the same time, there's the risk of putting other people at harm as well. So there's a lot to say in this, and I think it's a great story and it's a good read. She doesn't come to any conclusions. She just talks about her frustration, her worry. She also talked about how when her kids were still working, they were essential workers during the pandemic, how they got abused by customers for certain things, customers who didn't want to comply with certain COVID rules and restrictions. And so the customers would yell at them and berate them and, say really nasty things to them as well. And she said, just to finish up here, she said, essays are supposed to have a conclusion, and this doesn't really have one. That's kind of the problem. I don't know how to step down from this. I don't know how to heal from this. I don't know how to get back to normal now that things are getting back to normal. The usual remedies, I suppose, time and prayer, humility, keeping busy. Not every day is terrible. Some are downright normal, but many are not. One thing, it would help to know that I'm not the only one who feels this way. And I think that's probably, I think that for me is one thing that helps, is knowing in our Victorian context is that I guess in a sense, we're all feeling a little bit like this. And I don't want to blow the problem up and make it, sound worse than it is. But I think just from my perspective very quickly, one issue we've had in a sense is going back to church. And I don't have an issue with I want to go back to church. I've got no issue with that. But we've had a lot of stalls, like things that stall our progress in doing that. For example, I've talked about my son Alexander, and when he gets a cold, he gets really bad asthma sometimes, and he just had a recent bout of that. And
is he okay, Lindsay?
He's okay now, but just last weekend he was not necessarily in a good place. We managed to avoid hospital with his asthma plan and everything, but he wasn't doing well for a little bit there. And it's a reaction to colds and flus and things like that. So, so here's some hesitancy on our part. If we go to church and people aren't doing the right thing, or, even if we go out to the shops, I'm not just talking about church, but anywhere, but it's in the back of our mind, where and when can we take him out, worrying about his health. And we're walking around unvaccinated because, people in my age group at least don't have access to a vaccine yet. Are people around me doing the right thing? And the other thing I've been thinking as well, and I've said this to a few people quietly, is that I found it difficult in some ways to reestablish a lot of relationships. And I don't mean with immediate family and immediate friends, but I mean sometimes in my workplace, to be honest, sometimes people who are outside of my inner circle, it's a very small circle, but inner circle, yeah. And again, not to say that I don't want to talk to people or keep away, but it feels like it takes extra effort to reconnect and reestablish some of those relationships because of this long lockdown that we've been through. And even though that was last year, and even though it feels like it was a long time ago, when we have smaller lockdowns, it kind of brings some of that back again. So anyway, I've said a lot. Caroline, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts on this article and on some of the reflections about what's been left over from our lockdown life?
Yeah, I mean, I 100% agree with what she was writing, because I thought that after the long lockdown that everything would just go back to normal gradually, but, for sure. But I'm feeling like I'm really having a hard time getting back to normal. And I think that would probably be because we are having repeated short lockdowns. I mean, they say, let's have a short, sharp lockdown and everything will be fine. But like you said, it does bring back the memory of the longer lockdown, because they reinstate the 5 reasons for leaving home, and you feel like you're kind of captive again. You don't have those freedoms anymore. And increasingly, I've noticed that I'm having this brain fog form in my head.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Which is really hard, especially when I'm trying to research science topics. And like Lindsay, I'll be honest with everyone, because didn't I text you yesterday? I said, Lindsay, I just can't do it this week. I'm having real trouble. I was having migraine as well, but normally I can just push through it. But, and then, we came up with a solution. But I am increasingly finding myself just wanting to disconnect, I think, from everything, to be honest. And so that's something that you really have to work hard on, work to push through, and to, kind of say, it's all right. We can kind of have normality is fine. Like, you can go back to normality. I feel like you have to give yourself the permission to go and be normal. Yeah. Especially in Australia, like, you're saying not many of us are vaccinated, and the plan seems to be, trying to suppress the virus all the time. So we're always on we're always on edge, like, when's the next lockdown? Like, and when we're let out, let's go have our freedom quickly before we can't have it again.
Get as many donuts as you can.
That's right. And Lindsay, you and I, our families together, had a 2-day holiday this week. We thought, let's go do this, because we don't know where we could do it, if we're going to be able to do it again.
And that was hard to organize. It normally would be very easy to organize, and that was no different from organizing the other time. It was like, I've got to take I've got to take the extra step to make sure I organize this, and then we've got to actually go out, but and it was great. It was a good rest finally from, we haven't had a holiday in a long time, but no, you're right. But we had to force ourselves
We
I know
did.
my family, we had to force ourselves to go on holiday.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we did.
Yeah. I mean, I think a one night stay was a perfect thing because it wasn't really long. It wasn't a long commitment, but it was enough that we could get away. We had 2 lovely days together, all of us.
Yeah.
But having said that, you know what I feel like lockdown has done? Has brought us as a family closer together.
That's true. Yeah.
I really feel that because I think that when we had the really long lockdown last year, we couldn't see each other. We missed each other a lot.
Yeah.
And now when every chance we do get together, you know. So I feel that has been a positive.
That's been a plus side from it for sure.
Yeah. So I think that's the good side of it. And then, like you said, going to church. I am guilty of not going every Sunday and watching it online still. I think I have a bit of the fear of, I know the COVID's not around that much, but there's a fear inside me that I'm just a bit worried that what if there's an outbreak? I don't want to catch it. I don't want my children, to get it. And yeah, because like you said, not everybody does want to follow rules. I'm not criticizing anyone, but it's just how it is. Even when you go to the shops or whatever.
Oh yes.
It's the same thing. And honestly, I haven't been going much out to the shops. Just what I need and home.
Yeah.
And we do mostly outdoor things. I've increasingly been doing things outdoors because I feel like it's safer. So it's really had, it's really had a psychological effect. So now just talking about it, I'm realizing all of this. So thanks, Lindsay. But at the same time, it's good to acknowledge it. It's good to acknowledge.
Yeah, and I think that, again, the conclusion or not conclusion to our article is the idea of just acknowledging how we feel about it. And there are probably people who are in a much better state than what we've stated. And that's really good because we need you.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. And even some people's resistance to lockdown, is, for not good reasons. But I think there are other people who have been resisting because they've had enough as well. And I understand that too.
You do have enough. And because it was good getting back into our routine because our routine was established again. We had a few months of, we know we have to go to work on Monday and it's fine, it's okay. But once you get locked down again, and someone like me, an office worker who gets to work from home, it is so hard to get back. Now I'm going back to the office on Monday. And I don't want to go. I just want to stay at home, honestly. Yeah. I find it easier at home. I mean, now I've got an arrangement with work where I can just do one day in the office and now I'm only working 2 days, so I'll do another day at home. Yeah. But still, I don't want to do that one day in the office. I just want to work at home. But having said that, when I go to the office, I really enjoy meeting up with my colleagues again because, we get along really well. So, yeah, goodness. Yeah. Thanks for the therapy session.
I was going to say, tell us what you really think.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. Usually I hold back, don't I?
Maltese part of her.
I was going to say, you've heard the Maltese siblings having a chat. What are your thoughts, Lino, on all of this?
I understand from both sides what you're saying, guys. Yeah, it's hard. It is very hard to keep up with quarantine and doing the right thing, and of course I'm QR coding now. It's thank goodness it's come up and it's done so easy for our parish.
But anyway, that's another side thing.
It's improved.
It has improved. It is much improved. But it's just, I think at the time now we have to get used to it. You know what I mean? We have to, before we get into a shop or into anything, we have to remember to take our phones out and QR code in. And some shops don't have the book that we have at Mass where we can sign in, but it's just trying to get into that rhythm and to, like Caroline said, routine, get back into that routine, but like you guys said, it's sometimes hard. Sometimes it could happen this next week. We go back in lockdown again and you go, oh, not again. And also you have that fear of going out as well in case you can catch it. Yeah. And I will never forget that time we just went to one place. It was Fountain Gate, just to go to one shop. And it was Boxing Day, and we ended up finding out someone from New South Wales came down and spread the virus around area, and we had to do a 3-day lockdown. and it was New Year's Eve. I was like, oh man, that thing also brings fear to you as well. It says, you know what I mean? Can I go to the shop and not find out that later on I have to what's it called? Get a test.
Tested, isolate for 3 days.
Isolate for 3 days again. You know, and it's just it's with church as well. You know, the only time we go, and you guys probably know, is like if one of us has a role in the church, like Eucharistic minister or a reading. That's the only time we go to the church. And if back then, but now is if we can, we'll try our best, and if we can't, so be it. I'm afraid. You know, we still can celebrate on the iPad or iPhone, whichever device we have, but it must be. It's not the same. Hey guys, it's not the same.
No, it's not the same.
And when I'm in church, I really like being there. Don't get me wrong. Like, we had my son's Holy Communion a couple of weeks ago, and then I took him to weekday mass, and I intended fully to keep doing it, and then I got a cold, and so I have to get myself back into it. So it's
it's not a give and take. It's you do something, and if something happens bad, just try to work it through. Work it through it, and but we're in a, like everyone says, it's a ongoing thing. We have to try our best to go back to church and do things in this, but it is what it is. I'm afraid to say, you know what I mean, guys. I'm not being negative or anything. We are in a COVID world, and these things will happen. But then at least we can find out before maybe it happens. I don't know. You know, it's great to know you guys went out together. I saw it on Facebook and went, oh, awesome. You know, you're in the city, and there's something. There's an ad here. So what does it go? Stay close, but go further. That's what it says. Okay, so that's what I mean. You know what I mean? It's just, we are saying within Victoria, but it's time for us to come out and try to do things. I can't. I don't know. There's a saying saying you have to roll the dice. Maybe that, I don't know, and try it out. But
I
in
think
the end,
we knew we were taking a risk too, because I mean we planned this thing. We were thinking, well, we were either going to go or we're not going to be able to go.
Well, it's great you guys went. Yeah.
But we went and we had a lovely time, thank God.
Yeah.
The city was very quiet though, don't you reckon, Lindsay?
It was quiet, and I noticed that they had the city of Melbourne currently has a promotion where, and by the way, we're not getting paid to say this, so just I'm not. This is just being slipped in, sneakily or anything. But we didn't know this was happening. But they had a promotion where when you buy a meal at a venue in the city, you can scan your receipt and get 20% of the cost of that meal back. So we got 20% discounts on all our meals, which is great.
Which is a bonus in the city, especially.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but because I think they've noticed, because when you fill it in, there's also a little survey about why did you come into the city or whatever. So that so they've obviously noticed that the visitors to Melbourne and their local businesses is low as well. So again, even just from that economic standpoint, we're not the only ones who are feeling like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready to come out.
Well, that's correct too. Yeah. That's it. That's it, Lindsay. Yeah.
Just to add a little thing to this topic, our good friend of the show, Archbishop Clement Solly,
yes,
which we have permission to call him, by the way. He confirmed that. But
yes,
but he did say last year that that the pandemic was revealing as well, and I think and I take hope in that idea that it's revealed a few things to me about how about my social interactions, about myself, my mental preparedness for events like this, my conviction of my faith, things like that. And it's given me, I guess, baselines to work from, to work on. So even though I'm feeling, a certain way, like maybe a little bit mentally scarred from lockdowns and whatever else, that doesn't mean I'm going to stay and dwell on that, if that makes sense. I'm trying to move forward from that and challenge myself. For example, it sounds really silly, but organizing an overnight holiday in the city, that was a big moment for, for me, you know what I mean? That was an important thing for all of us, getting back into going to church. So we're definitely going to church tomorrow now. We've said it, we're doing it, we're going, that's happening. And then from there, set up this routine where we get back into our weekly Sunday masses rather than watching it online. So there are, we are, this, what's been revealed to me has shown me some things about myself and it's good. I'm so glad I know those things. You know, COVID, I guess, as terrible as it is also an opportunity. These lockdowns were an opportunity to learn more about ourselves. And now that I've learned, I'm not happy to just sit and say, okay, well, this is me. So I'm, you know, like as in to say, you know, now for the rest of my life, I'll just watch church online. I'll stay at home. I won't connect with people outside my circle, ... You know, it's to say, no, I know those things now and I want to do something about it. And I think that's, and I think maybe that's the positive I can take from this, is that there's a lot of growth, and growth is good too. It can be painful as it has been, but it's also good. And I'm looking forward to that growth as well.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So how do we
yeah.
How much did that cost for that therapy session? Was it $100?
It was a pretty good session.
Yeah,
it was. It's awesome.
Yeah. And also for anyone who's listening, if you'd like to share your experiences, you know, we also have a listening era as well. So we, you know, if you'd like to write to us as well, we'd love to listen and see what your experiences are, because the shared experiences, I think, is what, you know, knowing that other people are going through particular things because of COVID in their particular situations, I think is really helpful, because we can all push each other forward together, you know, travel forward together. All right. So with that, let's change topics now, because we are going to talk about science.
What a fine day for science.
You have any hobbies?
I collect spores, molds, and fungus.
Can you reverse the polarity?
I'll do my best.
For our science topic today, we've got a couple of different topics, just a mishmash of some interesting science bites we thought we'd share with everyone. Now, the first one, just to coincide with NIDOC Week, which we did an acknowledgement of at the beginning of this episode. The first one is about an asteroid named after an Aboriginal elder. So can you tell us what's happening with that story?
Yeah, so I loved this story. I really wanted to put it in our science segment today. So there's been an asteroid named in honour of Aboriginal elder Gilla Michael Anderson for his contribution to astronomy. So he's actually been interested in astronomy since he was a child. He says his nan and pop used to tell him stories about the stars and the different stories about them, you know, the indigenous stories. And he is a ULA elder. I'm really sorry about my pronunciation if I'm not saying it correctly, from Goodega in northwest New South Wales. And he's been recognised for his contribution to the understanding of First Nations in astronomy. And the First Nations people of our country have a lot of stories about the Milky Way, constellations in the sky, and there's actually evidence of the traditional knowledge going back at least about 12,000 years. So it's quite an extensive knowledge in their culture. So his name was put forward to the IAU, so the International Astronomical Union, which we all know and love for putting reclassifying Pluto as a dwarf planet. I will never let that one go.
No, never.
So yes, but anyway, that was an aside. So his name was put forward to have the asteroid named after him by Associate Professor of Cultural Astronomy at Melbourne University, Dwayne Haymaker. So he recognised his contribution to astronomy, and he's got to be named after an asteroid now called 1004 Gilla, which is 2.7 kilometres in diameter, and it's currently between Jupiter and Mars. And this asteroid was first found in 1984 by Czech scientists. And Mr. Anderson says that the recognition was a great honour, and the Aboriginal people had a lot to contribute to the study of space. He says it was a bit of a shock first, but proud to be one of the First Nations people in the world to have an asteroid named after them, and that's truly well deserved. He says, we have a lot to teach Australia and the rest of the world, and now people are just starting to realise that. And he also makes a good point. Thank goodness our old people didn't let it all die and left left a lot of knowledge behind for us to pass on to generations, and I think Australia would benefit a lot from it. He's worked with an associate of Professor Dwayne. His name is Dr. Robert Fuller. He's worked with him for a number of years and contributed to filming of a documentary about Aboriginal astronomical knowledge, and he's also helped to document the star knowledge, by talking to professors and such. So also I found through a website called aboriginal.astronomy.com.au, they actually made a little documentary. I couldn't find the full documentary, but from the snippet, it was so interesting because he talked about how at nighttime, they do nighttime ceremonies as well as ceremonies during the day. And where they are at nighttime, they can see the full Milky Way. They can see everything, all the stars. Yeah. And they said they do that so they know the world around them. So it's not just the daytime world they know. There's also the nighttime world. They can see everything night and day. So they know what's there in the night and in the day. And they see the emu spirit in the Milky Way, which is also a water spirit. When they see Venus rise in the sky, and how it cycles through. When they see it first appear in the sky, they know that that's when the time to light the fires. So, in Australia, we have a problem with bushfires. Well, they used to manage the fires by lighting scrub fires so that they don't get those full-blown fires, and it regenerates the land. There are certain seeds that can only germinate after their capsules kind of thing have been, burnt open. The fire will open it up and then the seed comes out and then it can germinate. Our Indigenous people have the relationship between the sky and the seasons and the land, so they have this extensive knowledge that we don't have. I mean, we have our scientific instruments, we have, we're able to have all this fancy knowledge, but they have a different knowledge as well. And I reckon that if we put the scientific knowledge with the cultural knowledge together, we just learn so much more about the earth, So
you can't beat 12,000 years of experience.
No, I mean,
and that's what it is. It is experience. They had very advanced agriculture. People say, they were just nomads. That is that's nonsense. They weren't nomads. Their agriculture was actually very, very interesting.
Yes.
It wasn't the traditional agriculture that was understood by people at the time, but it was all, based on everything that you said, based on their knowledge of the land, based on their knowledge of the seasons, which would be linked to their knowledge of space and the stars.
Exactly. Yeah, it's amazing. And I just thought I'd just read a couple of things off their off this website to explain, a little bit about the dreaming and their interpretation of a few of these celestial things that we see in the sky. So the Southern Cross, it's very here down in Australia, the Southern Cross is prominent in the sky. So it says here the Southern Cross is important in ceremony. It has a strong link to the story of when the first man died, and the dark space, they call it a coal sack, is the hole in the dead tree, the Yaran or Gulaba, depending on language group, through which Bullimar is reached. The pointer star, Alpha and Beta Centauri, are two cockatoos, Murray and Muye, who were roosting in the tree when it was lifted into the sky. In the same area as a star, Alpha Muscae, which is the large Federation star on the Australian flag. This is the camp of the culture hero Bayami, which is now kept by one of his wives and is the place where everyone goes before going to Bullimar. Women with children on the earth stay here until they are joined by their last daughter. Another star in the region, Canopus, is called Wamba, crazy, perhaps because it twinkles near the horizon. And so that's pretty cool. The Milky Way, other than the moon, the brightest object in the night sky is the Milky Way, which can stretch from horizon to horizon in the dark sky. From the ULA people, this is Warrnambool, meaning watercourse or river, and the place where everything once was until the universe was turned upside down and everything ended up on Earth. Many of the creation beings are still to be found in Warrnambool, and many objects and stories have mirror places on Earth. Behind the Milky Way is Bullimar, the sky camp where persons go after their life on Earth. So yeah, I mean, these are just beautiful explanations that they have come up with, in their culture. And yeah, like we were talking about, the beautiful connection between the sky and the earth and their management of land and everything else. So yeah, I really wanted to highlight that this week because there is how do you say, white astronomy, I guess you could call it. I don't want to be bringing anything racial into it, but I'm just saying astronomy that we learn at school, and then there's beautiful cultural astronomy, which I'd love to. It's so nice. I actually want to read more about that because it's just I think we can learn a lot from our Indigenous people.
There's a strong connection between faith and science that I can see there as well from the Indigenous perspective alone before we bring European, classical science in there.
Yes.
With their understanding of, again, the stars and how it's connected to seasons and how they, add imagery, and then they added an overlay of faith on top of that as well. So we talk about faith and science from the Catholic tradition and how they have a beautiful connection, but you can see it in Indigenous tradition as well. Again, how faith and science, so across different cultures, they can all experience that same beauty as well. And I think that's a great one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move to a more local planet then. We've been all over the Milky Way. Let's jump to Mars because now we've had detections of methane gas on Mars. So what's happening there? And is it a signal of life, Caroline?
Well, I'm not sure about that, but we've been detecting.
No, because methane is always like, everyone's like, oh, methane, life,
Well, yes, no, I mean, you're right about that, but I'm not sure about the life theory on Mars yet because they're not sure. But, there's Curiosity rover on Mars, and since about 2012, it's actually been detecting methane repeatedly, and it's been going from background levels from about 0.5 parts per billion, and sometimes surges up to 20 parts per billion. It's been using its TLS instrument, which is a tunable laser spectrometer, to measure these. And like you said, it could be a possible biosignature gas. So they've been puzzled though because they weren't sure. There's an orbiter that went on board in 2016, and that was actually able to measure methane up in the atmosphere of Mars, and they weren't able to actually detect it. So they were wondering, why are we detecting it on surface and why are we not detecting it, and then I read in the article, they did every single thing they could do to kind of find, where is this methane coming from? Is it from the rover itself somehow? Let's try and find everything we can. And then they decided, well, let's do these detections, every day. And they found out that basically Mars kind of at nighttime pulls on the surface of Mars, and then during the day it kind of dissipates as the sun comes up. The atmosphere warms up and the methane dissipates into the atmosphere. But it's still very hard to detect it in the upper atmosphere. So they're just kind of wondering, how's it formed, first of all? So it's seeping out of the rocks. Life, ? Yeah. Something geological happening, ? We're not sure. And why is it disappearing into the atmosphere? So is it broken down by other molecules? Is it destroyed by the sun? We're not sure. So we're at that point at the moment. Very interesting. So yeah, stay tuned.
Yeah. So to add on to that, Caroline, I was looking at another story about Enceladus, which is the moon, one of the really fascinating moons of Saturn.
Favorite moon ever. Yes.
Yeah, probably one of the most fascinating moons in our entire solar system, because this is the one that has big geysers of water. What is it? Not exactly water, but it shoots out geysers anyway.
It's got oceans under its icy caps. For sure. So it's all water mixed in with all these. I'll let you do it.
But this originally, when it was discovered, this blew people's minds because Cassini was sending imagery back, and they're like, "What is this stuff shooting out of this moon? What's going on here?" And it was geysers of water that shoot out into space. And so anyway, they've detected methane as well on Enceladus, and now they're trying to work out if this could be signs of life as well. And it's 50-50 now, so it could be or it couldn't be. But what's interesting about Enceladus, like you mentioned, is that under that big layer of ice on the surface is a liquid ocean of something, yeah. And in fact, they're talking about missions. I've seen, in years past about creating submarine-like probes that could be sent there. That could be, dropped on the surface. The nose or the body could heat up incredibly to melt the ice, and it just, moves through the ice and gets into the ocean and, swims around and starts, doing testing
all the fish
and detecting.
under the sea.
Yeah, all the fish aliens like, what's this? I've never seen this before. Yeah. But so they are trying to work out if it's possible that there is signs of life through methane, or what is generating this methane. So there's a couple of theories. So first of all, Cassini, the probe that was launched got to Saturn by 2005 anyway, it spotted lots of compounds, in the atmosphere, including dihydrogen, which, from my understanding, is it's a molecule which is 2 atoms of hydrogen. I hope I'm correct about that. that was my one and only Jimmy Akin moment. And a variety of carbon-containing organic compounds as well, including methane. So there's a couple of theories. One is there are microbes that are eating, like some of these hydrogens and whatever else, the dihydrogen, and producing methane, and that could be it. Or the methane could just be being produced by sort of leftover, organic matter that came from asteroids and whatever else. So they are trying to work out if this could be a sign of life, and I guess more missions are going to have to happen. But this was the conclusion that they said. So 2 things. It partly, could there be life or not? It partly boils down to how probable we believe the different hypotheses are to begin with. For example, if we deem the probability of life in Enceladus to be extremely low, then such an alternative abiotic mechanisms, which was that organic matter I was talking about, becomes more likely, even if they are very alien compared to what we know here on Earth. That being said, biological methanogenesis appears to be compatible with the data as well. In other words, we can't discard the life hypothesis as improbable. To reject the life hypothesis, we need more data from future missions. So it's possible that it could be some kind of life on Enceladus. It's also possible that it could just be methane being produced by just by organic matter as well. But they can't rule out either at the moment and say this is definitely what it is. So that is very cool.
Yes. I wish they'd send that thing over.
Oh, please, just get it over there. Come on. Just shoot that probe over and tell us what's going on. Yeah,
totally.
Put us out of our misery.
Yeah.
So, guys, about methane. When I think about methane, I think you guys all will think, just remember this, I always think of methane gas. Is that the same thing, guys? Is that a dangerous chemical?
No, that's just a byproduct from life. Like we think of cows. Okay. Every cows produce methane. That's why we have it's an environmental issue here because it is biologically produced, so it's definitely a gas.
Right. Okay. Understand.
Well, it's a gas on Earth. On Titan,
Okay.
there's rivers of methane, so it depends on what environment it's in. To be honest,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Like that song by the rivers of methane. No,
Whoa.
That wouldn't be pleasant. But anyway,
no, it would be very unpleasant.
Okay, I understand. Yeah.
Right. So we just had a couple of very short ones, and the first one to add just a little footnote is billionaires in space. So this month, now by the time this podcast comes out, a lot of this might have already happened, but there are 2 billionaires this month who are vying to be the first billionaire and human being to be a tourist in space, to be part of an official space tourism mission.
I'm sorry, how can a billionaire be a tourist? Like, really?
True.
Come
yeah.
on.
No, it's probably more like a real estate. It's like, oh, there's the moon. Oh, I'll buy that.
I'll just buy that. Yeah, I was about to say, hell is that? Having like a space auction. Shrink it. Put it into like a little ball.
Yeah.
I'm sure Richard Branson has some minions somewhere to help him out. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, banana.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Richard Branson very, very soon, imminently, is going to be flying on his Virgin Galactic flight on the VSS Unity, which is their spaceship. And so basically it gets taken up on their plane, which the name I can't recall now, but it's this giant looking, I forgot now, but The spaceship is VSS or
VSS,
Virgin
sorry,
spaceship.
I saw it this morning and I forgot immediately.
Yeah. But anyway, this will fly them up to a height, in Earth's lower atmosphere-ish, and then from there they'll launch they'll launch Unity. And I've watched a couple of their test flights already, which are pretty amazing. It just drops and you hear them go fire, 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 and the engine ignites, and it's like a first stage engine that takes them into 100 kilometers above the Earth, which is the Kármán line, which is the official recognition of being in space.
Mm-hmm.
So that's billionaire number one. So and
it's tomorrow, July 11.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. So
Yes.
tomorrow at time of recording. Yeah, that's right. I forgot it was so soon.
Oh,
Yes.
And at the end of the month, in the July 20 something, we then have Jeff Bezos, founder
Coming
of
second.
Coming in second place. Yeah, founder of Amazon. I should also say that Richard Branson's flight will have passengers, so it's not just him. It's the first, flight with more passengers than just a test.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. When you guys sent me
Can't
that
help being
clip,
nervous.
yeah, I'm nervous. I know you saw the messages I was saying. It felt like a reality ad.
It is a reality show. Space
they're walking
reality.
down.
There was advertising.
They're walking very slowly, and all of a sudden this is like a what is it? A detail of them, the age, the name, what the profession. It's like a reality.
Yeah.
Oh, so cool. It's so cool.
Yeah, and the reason they're doing commercial advertisements is because this is a business. They actually are launching space tourism, and Virgin Galactic actually floated on the stock market in the United States. So they are very serious about this taking off. Excuse the pun, but you know what I mean. Going to orbit. He's going orbital. And the other billionaire is the founder of Amazon, Jeff Bezos, who has filled my house with certain devices that I can't say their names
Lindsay.
because they'll go
off.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
So Jeff Bezos on the New Shepard. So this is a rocket that is a reusable rocket. So it can launch. It goes above the Kármán line. It's two stages. So the first stage takes it up. Then the capsule with people separates. They get to float around, experience weightlessness for a couple of minutes, and see the Earth from space. And then the first stage comes back and lands itself, just like the SpaceX Falcon rockets. And the capsule will float back to Earth, and then deploy parachutes and hit the ground. Well, land on the ground, I should say. Hit the ground. Yeah,
cool. I know.
Just like we would see in astronauts returning from the International Space Station. So very much like that. So a couple of billionaires who are trying to get their names as astronauts, and this also will have passengers. So Jeff Bezos is taking his brother. He's also taking I forgot her name now. Oh, I'm gonna have a mental blank. Anyway, she's this woman who is an experienced pilot. She can fly anything and everything. She's in her old age and she sounds as confident as ever that she could pick up any plane and fly it. But she never got to be an astronaut. So now they are going to make her an astronaut. Yeah, awesome. Which is awesome. So looking forward to those and hoping they go well. There was a joke. There was someone made a petition for Jeff Bezos to not return after he goes to space. But I know, funny, but at the same time, we do hope. Yeah, we do hope it goes well because we're talking about human lives here as well.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
So when is Elon Musk going to go to space?
I think he's happy to stay here, except he's sending everyone else to space.
Oh no, I was going to say, look, 3 billionaires. What about one more billionaire going to space?
Yeah, no doubt he'll go to space at some point when Starship is, but
when
you
he
would have
can see
relied
it's
on a Starship
working
now.
well.
Yeah, they're not quite there, but Starship is it's a big operation compared to what these two are. This is I
can imagine that you guys, Elon Musk go, can you give me a ticket on Vision? Perhaps again. Elon, really? Fly a fire ship? Come on.
And I'll buy your business while I'm at it.
Yes.
I'll take
he would be able to afford it, would he?
Business class.
Yeah. There was a joke that Elon Musk tried to buy a ticket for what's it for? Not Amazon. What am I talking about? Yeah, for Blue Origin. Sorry, it took me a while to get to that. Yeah, Blue Origin's thing. There was a joke about that. I just want to see. You know what I really want to see? I want to see Jeff Bezos stand next to the rocket and say, "Alexa, launch the rocket."
Yeah. Alexa, launch.
Yes. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. Sorry, everyone. I hope you.
No, I would say it.
Okay. I've just launched about 10,000 rockets around the world. Whoops.
Countdown 30.
You've launched the whole lot.
I hope that doesn't do anything in anyone's home. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe he just confused all the Alexas because they're like, what?
What?
Yeah.
I don't know how to do that.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Lastly, just very quickly, this is a really cool story. This one is for your kids. All right,
Yes,
everyone's got
fun.
kids. You
Very
have
fun.
to, we've got the link. Show the footage. This is so cool. An Australian beetle that can walk upside down under the water's surface. This was filmed in Australia in a world first. A researcher accidentally spotted a tiny insect walking on the underside of the water's surface as if it were walking on a pane of glass. This is really cool. So we've seen insects walk on top of water.
Yeah.
Exactly.
This one walked under the surface of the water. And there's footage right here, and it is mind-blowing just watching this beetle walk
It's
around.
very cool.
Yeah.
Whoa!
So it's a tiny aquatic beetle, about 6 to 8 millimeters in length, and it was discovered by accident. John Gould, a PhD student of the University of Newcastle, discovered the beetle by accident while researching a frog species in the Watagan Mountains. He had been crouching down next to a body of water, searching for tadpoles, when he noticed what initially appeared to be a bug swimming. In a rare documentation of behavior, Gould said he then realized the beetle seemed to be walking on the underside of the water surface as if it were a pane of glass. And he said, I think I was just lucky. The most interesting thing is that it's able to rest on the underside of the water surface as well as walk. So there's some things in this article about how the beetle has hair-like projections along their legs to stop them from breaking the surface tension. About using air bubbles, I think it was, to keep themselves stable.
Cool. Wow.
So they hypothesized the behavior might have evolved as a means to avoid predators at the bottom of bodies of water. So,
that's cool.
So I'll link to that one as well.
Yeah, because usually we do see the bugs on top of the water, don't we? And
Yeah.
like we know it's the surface tension. It's like the bonds of hydrogen. You know, the water likes to keep itself together, and so the little bugs are able to kind of put their feet down on there.
Exactly.
And you know, their feet are hydrophobic. So I have to insert this bit of science.
Of course.
So the feet don't attract the water, they kind of repel it. And you can kind of do an experiment next time. It's a little bit cruel, but next time you see a little bug scuttling on top of the water, put a bit of detergent. It will break the surface tension and they'll sink. Make sure you save the bug after because it's not very nice.
Yes.
But little. I thought I'd add that in. But yeah, it'd be interesting to know if that works exactly the same way. So the surface tension underneath as well. How cool is that?
And this beetle has given us some science to think about as well, about the surface tension on the underside of water.
Yes.
Yeah, very interesting.
Very interesting.
Sorry, guys, I have to do this.
The Beatles always take top place.
We'll let you have that one.
It's been a hard day's night. Sorry, I want to make sure the listeners know what kind of beetles I'm talking about.
Yes. Yeah. The little ones with 6 legs, but yeah.
And that's science, everyone. All right, so let's move on now and let's talk about some entertainment.
I don't know where you get your delusions, laser brain.
This is not what we came here to do.
No, but it's what I'm going to do.
I have a plan. You've got a plan. I have part of a plan. Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
All right, so I've been being entertained by a few things, guys. So having school holidays, I've had a couple of things that I've been able to watch and read and enjoy and things like that. So I'm not going to go through everything, but here are some of the main ones that I've had a go at. So first of all, Amazon. Now, my wife Isabel ordered a board game. Oh, there's a long story. This, right? She ordered a board game, and it's a great board game. Yeah, but it arrived in this box from Amazon. And the whole box was an ad for their new movie, The Tomorrow War, starring Chris Pratt.
My goodness.
So the whole box, there was just Chris Pratt on the box, and there was wrecked cities behind him, and him with that serious face, like I'm a soldier, kind of that kind of thing. Yeah, not looking like Star-Lord at all or anything like that. Yeah. And so I thought, all right, I might give this movie a watch, and I watched it with Damien, who's 12. Now I know the age rating is a little bit above, but I did read. I did my due diligence to make sure there was nothing in there that was inappropriate. And there's a bit of language, but not a lot, so it was okay. And there was one scene where there's some language used, and it's actually quite funny because it's this guy freaking out because he sees he sees one of the aliens for the first time. He's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I don't know say what he said, but it was quite funny. Anyway, the movie itself is so predictable that within about 10 minutes you've picked everything that's going on.
Flick,
Yeah, it's totally a popcorn flick. Yeah, it's special effects, it's laughing at the comedy. Do not watch this movie looking for any insights into what the human race is like at all or anything like that. It is complete action popcorn.
Popcorn,
starring Chris Pratt. So in one way, it was fun. Definitely a fun movie, and Chris Pratt is he's a fun actor for this for this kind of genre. All of the characters are interesting in some kind of way, which was good. But man, you know how when you so look, the basic story without spoiling it is that Chris Pratt comes home and there's a party at his house, and they're watching the World Cup, the 2022 World Cup. So next year's World Cup, they're watching that, right?
Okay. Next year.
In Qatar, yeah. So they're watching this, and then the pitch, there's a guy who breaks away from the pack, and he's got the ball, and he's about to go for goal, and and even I was watching the soccer match, going, so come on, like that, and then suddenly like this distortion opens up in front of him. And these soldiers walk out, and they're like, "We're from the future." Yeah. So essentially, the future, decades later, has been overrun by aliens, and humanity is losing the war against them. And they need people from that time, from 2022, to go into the future with them and help them fight the aliens.
Okay. Yep.
And it is so dumb because I was thinking, these guys have like 20 to 30 years to stop these aliens. Why can't they just prepare in the present for them? Rather than go to the future. Because what they do is they create a draft, like conscription. So if your number comes up, you're going to the future.
Oh, wow.
So they don't tell them what the aliens look like, because apparently it's too scary to show them what the aliens look like. So that you don't know your enemy. You're just going to go in there. Like, this is cannon fodder.
No training.
The training is, there's like barely any training at all. They send people through, and they're like, the people don't even know how to fire their weapons. You know what I mean?
Oh, you'd at least teach them that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, so they're sending civilians. And luckily, Chris Pratt has been in the army before. So he's
done a lot in his movie career, so he's very well prepared.
His character. Yeah. So it's like, obviously, when they get there, he's like, oh, you go over here, you go over there. And then every scene where it goes to a new location, I say to Damien, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. And and Damien's like, yeah,
Lindsay.
it is. Yeah. And but like with you, like, it's so predictable. Like, for example, if you go to a fortress with walls, the aliens are going to climb over the walls. You just know that's going to happen. That's every movie. That's every movie.
Yes.
Okay. So anyway, I won't spoil it. However, if you're looking for a mindless action movie that's a bit of fun, and you don't mind that you can't be spoiled because you know the plot already from the start to the end, it's a bit of fun to watch. So the Tomorrow War, and I was reading they might make a sequel, and I just thought, why?
Oh goodness!
I know
the aliens come back.
Yesterday's war.
I don't
They
know.
missed
The
one.
Yesterday War, the day after tomorrow, next week war. I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway.
Day after the past.
Anyway, so look,
that would be today, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be today.
Yeah, as far as action and fun, I'll give it 7 aliens. As far as being a thinking man's movie, I'll give it a 0. It's paint by numbers. You know what's going to happen.
The kids might enjoy it then.
Yeah. No, don't show it to your kids yet. They're too young.
Yeah, okay, you mentioned
not
language.
Yet. Yeah,
right.
not yet. Language, and it might be a little bit scary in some places. Yeah.
Harry loves violence.
Actually, can
I
I
mean,
just say,
blowing up stuff.
Can I
just say, even the jump scares that happen, Damien and I looked at each other like, that's going to be a jump scare. So we didn't even jump because like, oh yeah, we know it's like,
we know it's going to happen.
It's like jump scare straight away.
Yeah, it's like a lot of those horror movies, isn't it, guys?
Yeah.
He's behind you.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
No, it's
Jurassic
like
Park was a bit like that,
like,
wasn't it? Though.
What is it?
Jurassic Park was a bit like
that was like
Jurassic World.
True.
They were all
true.
The
that was
dinosaur's going to eat him. He eats him.
Yeah.
The guy can't run, or the guy who's just tripped over the branch or tripped over something. He's going to be picked up.
Yeah.
They're going to survive. He's going to die. Yeah. You just know.
Anyway, in summary, I think Damien likes the movie more than I did. Just go with that.
Okay.
Yeah. Another thing I watched was season 7 of Bosch, which I really enjoyed.
Oh, yeah.
Now I'm holding my tongue.
No.
I'm holding my tongue. I had to watch it because of this deal that SBS has with Amazon at the moment. I had to watch it on SBS's streaming service. Because I had to watch it on SBS's streaming service, I had to watch it with ads. And man, the ads just break the tension.
I do. Yes,
I can
it does.
see that. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Having said that, the redeeming factor of it was really good. I really enjoyed the 7th season. I'm very sad it's the last season, but there is hope because there's going to be a Bosch spin-off series now where I won't say what happens.
You get more Bosch.
But we get more Bosch, basically. That's I don't care as long as I have more Bosch. I'm good with it. So yeah,
well, we're just gonna make sure listeners think it's a TV show, guys. It's not the tool.
Not the tools, not the Australian
Power Tool.
company, Power Tool. Yeah, this is different kind of Bosch. Yeah, but I've enjoyed it as far as detectives series go, and it's put me onto another one. So after it finished, I was like, oh man, I'm craving more. What do I do now? Now that there's, so I googled shows like Bosch, and it put me onto a series called Longmire on Netflix. So I watched the first episode, and I kind of enjoyed it. Yeah,
is it a Western?
It's set more in sort of rural America rather than Los Angeles, like city kind of thing. So so he kind of does the same things, it's that detective, solving murders.
Yes.
What's interesting though is, I was really surprised. So in Bosch, they find a body, they call an ambulance, the body, they take it to the morgue or whatever. When he finds a body, he chucks it in the back of his truck and he takes it to the hospiper himself. It's like, wow, yeah. So
okay,
on a ride in his truck.
Yeah, very, very different. However, very interesting. Same kind of thing, a cop with a past, things have happened in his life and, the backstory. But yeah, I thought it was very interesting.
That's good.
Yeah. Some very brief ones that I'll say probably more about in future episodes. Isabel and I sat down and watched Shadow and Bone on Netflix. It's this sort of steampunk kind of fantasy series-ish where where people can some people can do magic, or it's not called magic, it's called a type of science, a particular science, but including healing people or breaking people or making fire, making shadows, making lights, all this kind of stuff that, cosmetic things. I'd like to meet one of them, by the way, but they can make cosmetic alterations, things like that. Anyway, so it was good. We watched it from start to end. There's probably a couple of things that, probably didn't need to be in there. I'll just say that. But, and I'd say don't watch it with your kids for sure, because, there is a bit of violence. There's a bit of innuendo, things like that. However, the story kept me going. The romantic, triangle was a bit frustrating. I was like, why? All right. But
no romance for you.
Yeah, no, but it's like, I get sick of shows with like, you have to choose, will it be him or will it be him? It's like, what? This
both.
isn't.
No.
It doesn't work that way.
Whoa, okay,
Sorry.
It's not like the ad commercial, yeah.
Stupid.
But it's like, it's like, you know what? It's like, I want to watch a TV show. It can have romance, but it doesn't need to be like a reality show where they've got to choose this one or that one or whatever, all of them, whatever else, Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But anyway, if you like shows with magic and a bit of intrigue, and it actually had some very interesting flashbacks as well, I thought. So they do create a mythology, which I think is interesting. It has a European influence, so the characters have name, like the city names and whatever sound kind of Russian. There's tension. There's this massive, the big, plot problem is that there's this massive barrier made of shadow and full of monsters that separates one side of the land to the other, and to travel through it is very risky because the monsters try and eat you. So, and that has a whole history and becomes a very important part of the plot too. So, I like fantasy elements, like, it has boats, but the boat travels over sand. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just really
boats,
interesting. So it's got some of that, like Final Fantasy, that game, it's got elements, a couple of elements from there. Yeah.
I was about to say, cool.
Yeah. So, I thought it's worth watching. I'm actually looking forward to season 2. So we'll see how that goes. And lastly, very quickly, because, so now I've got my beautiful MacBook Air in front of me with my M1 chip. We decided to get a Mac Mini with the M1 chip as well to replace our PC, because our PC is getting old and dying, and I don't want to go through another Windows nightmare. So, and it takes up less space as well on my desk. Apple Arcade is actually really cool on computers, like on desktops. So yeah, I've had a go at it. I'll say more about it later in the games that I've played. But just a tip that we had a 3-month free subscription, so I'm trying it out. I'm actually really enjoying it. So Caroline, over to you. Raya and the Last Dragon.
Yeah, so this came out a little while ago, but we just got around to watching it because we had the school holidays, and so one of the days, it's been winter, so it's cold. So one of the afternoons I said, okay, we're having movie day inside. So, got some popcorn, we had some ice creams in the freezer and Coke and, we did all that. And I put it on Disney Plus. That's where it was from. So the official storyline is, long ago in the fantasy world of Kumandra, humans and dragons lived together in harmony. However, when sinister monsters known as the Droon threatened the land, the dragons sacrificed themselves to save humanity. Now, 500 years later, those same monsters have returned, and it's up to the lone warrior to track down the last dragons to stop the Droon for good. And it's actually a really sweet movie, and if you're like me, you're going to cry in some parts, okay? But it's really sweet. Basically there's this young girl, and there's a lot of these Droon turn people to stone. So as they go through the land, they turn people to stone. And her father was a king of one area of the land, and there were other kingdoms as well with their leaders, but her father had this dragon stone, and one day he decided, I want to make peace with everybody, invited all the different leaders and their clans sort of thing to his land so they would have a big party together and hopefully make up, and because there was some tension between them before, and he had the dragon stone, no one else had it. Somehow they found out that the Dragonstone was there where it was because the location was hidden, and then everybody went to try and grab it, and they broke it. And so all the other leaders ended up grabbing a piece each and running away. But that's when these Droon appeared, actually, when the stone broke, because the stone together, the power of the dragons were keeping them away. So then Raya, she goes on an adventure. She wants to find, there's this one dragon that exists, and her name is Sisu. And she goes on an adventure. She finds Sisu. She has the stone, and she gives Sisu the stone. And each part of the stone has a different power given to Sisu. Sisu is the dragon. So her brother and sister dragons put all their powers into this stone. And so each part, she gets a different power. So this time she turns into a human, which is really handy because then she had to go on an adventure with Raya and she didn't want to go as a dragon. Obviously, she couldn't reveal to everyone she was a dragon. So she helps her as in her human form, and they go to all parts of the land, which are actually parts of the dragon. So there was, tail and I forgot all the names anyway, they're parts of the dragon. And every time they went, she got a new power. And then another power was she could make water appear. And, there's all sorts of things. And then there's this one land that is holding on to the biggest part of the stone. Anyway, eventually, I guess I could give it away. They get the stone all together. Everyone who'd been turned to stone becomes human again. And all the dragons that were turned to stone also come back to life, and it's a really happy ending. My kids adored it. I loved it too. I thought it was so nice. It's just nice to have a nice happy movie like that, without shooting and other words and portals and aliens
and Chris Pratt.
Yeah, that's right.
Which, by the way, the Tomorrow War did make me cry as well, but for different reasons.
Oh no.
Yes, it was adorable. Anyway, I really enjoyed it. That was really good. The other thing I'm watching at the moment, of course, is Loki, which I really am enjoying. I'm in episode 5 at the moment, which I'm not going to talk about what's happening just in case people are still watching it. I wouldn't dare spoil it for anyone. It's really good. It's still holding up to the excitement and the standard it started with. It's just frustrating, just the same as WandaVision. Every time I finish a Loki episode, I just get, it's like, why isn't there another episode?
It just ends.
And you've got to,
things of binging it. Yeah,
that's it. You've got to make a decision. Do I wait for the whole series to come out and then just watch it all, or should I watch it every time? But I can't wait. I need to watch the next episode.
I'm like, give me the weekly. I'll do it. Yeah.
And this was a great episode for many, many reasons. Yeah, it was just.
I've got to say, so I've enjoyed WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I love both of them. Both great series in their own rights for different reasons. This for me though, Loki is the best of the three so far.
I agree.
By far the most entertaining. By far the most interesting.
Yes.
And again, not to say the other two are no good, but this one is so far for me has been the best. And I will spoil one thing. I thought Mini Thor was very funny.
Oh yes,
that's all I'll say.
So good.
Anyway, yeah.
I also I will say one thing too. I also like the appearance of an alligator.
Yes, that was the best. Oh, I love the alligator.
That was great.
Wow.
That's what. Yeah, it's.
Won't say anymore, but yeah, the alligator
it's so creative.
Was great.
It is really witty, funny, and still that dramatic at the same time.
Yeah, very funny. Yeah. I liked at the end of I think it was the 4th episode. Without spoiling, but things going really bad and there's a place they have to escape. But I like when series film a sequence with in one shot, so without cuts and edits, and they happen to do that, and that was actually a lot of fun too. I liked how they did that, but I won't say any more. Loki is great. Really enjoying that.
So good. Yeah. I'm so loving these spin-offs. I was like, oh, spin-offs. But they're so, can I even dare say they're like almost better than the films.
Wow. In some ways, I mean, they've got more time to tell stories, so they are a different format, which is good.
Yeah,
definitely.
Just speaking of Disney Plus, I'm really enjoying The Bad Batch as well. You can just tell.
I haven't got to it,
but you can just tell because some people said, "Oh, it's a bit mission of the week," and in some ways it is, but they're just seeding clues along the way that something big is coming, and I'm actually really enjoying like that series a lot. Like I loved the Clone Wars. This is in so many ways it's taken the best of the Clone Wars they've learnt, and they're telling stories, and without saying much more, but they've created characters again that you really like for a lot of reasons, and really good series. Lino, we know that you've been watching a lot of Superstore, and you've just about got to the end now. How's that going?
Yes, it's almost finished. I think hopefully we're about maybe 5 or 6 episodes left to go. It's a great series, guys. Like every other series, sometimes it goes a bit okay. Where's all the comedy gone? I can't see it. Sometimes, but look, it's a great series, and of course you've noticed from my intro that there's a new He-Man.
Yes.
Animation coming soon.
Why
on Netflix.
am I excited about this? This is so strange.
Oh my gosh,
like,
we used to watch He-Man together.
Yeah,
Lindsay
when we were kids, I know He-Man and She-Ra. I think that's what it is.
We loved him. We were obsessed with it.
Yeah. I guess it's like when I used to watch, I used to love Voltron, and Voltron was redone on Netflix. Now Lino, we've got He-Man.
Yes. Look, I was a bit adamant about this. Look, I got nothing wrong with the new She-Ra. I know the direction they went with it, with a younger version of her.
Yeah.
And doing everything. And I thought, oh no, are they going to do the same thing with He-Man? But no, they kept it with the original.
Thankfully.
Yeah, if they did a younger version,
Thankfully,
maybe.
by the power of Grayskull.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is true. Look,
yeah.
I understand both ways. See, anyone who's listening out said maybe they want to do the origins of He-Man. They wanted the stuff from the start, like everyone else is doing. Hey, that's all good. Try to do that and understand where He-Man came from. But it looks like they've started from this one. They've continued from the old version,
which is cool.
So,
I like that.
It's refreshing too.
It's
refreshing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
everything
is the same.
I want to hear. I have the power.
It is. Oh, it was hilarious. I looked on YouTube and they were showing that intro, that the one if I can hit Lindsay was saying. But did you know there was one back in 2002?
And it was terrible. Caroline and
was
I,
it? Okay,
I didn't never heard of it. When we had Optus Vision at home and they did a remake, and like they tried to say He-Man, it's like, what is this? It was terrible.
Okay,
it was
okay.
It was the characters and no He-Man.
Thumbs
like,
down.
No, he was nothing like none of the characters. Skeletor wasn't like Skeletor. Was like, nah.
You can't do a new version. You have to do the same one.
Yeah,
exactly.
Because I watched a bit of the new She-Ra and I'm like. I said to Damien, like she transforms, like that's not how she does it. You know what I mean? Like, you need the fanfare, you need the sparks, you need the sword in the air, and the whole.
It's got to have those sparkling, those lights coming out, emanating. You've
exactly.
Just got to have
and if she's not yelling out, "I am She-Ra,"
no, then
forget
it's
it.
Not worth
she
it.
just goes by the power of Grayskull. Done. You're like, no, I'm sorry.
No. Oh, does she do that? Oh, sorry. I've
Even
seen
if you're in the middle of the city, you've got to do it. Everybody's got to see it.
That's right. Exactly.
That's right.
And the other thing with the new She-Ra that annoyed me a little bit, and I know that like for kids these days they probably like it was fun and whatever, but what annoyed me is that they've tried to make a series that has nothing to do with He-Man.
Mm.
So they didn't want to even like mention or show any relationships. So they wanted to be completely different in a way. And it's
totally
like, but I'm sorry, but She-Ra, is He-Man's sister, and they were separated
Exactly.
at birth.
Yeah.
And there's a whole thing to it. And but they
there is.
decided to end the series with not one reference or anything to her
what's the point of
origins. No portal that she was kidnapped through or anything
Oh
like
my
that.
God.
And I thought, it's like, come on. You might as well call her something else. You know what I mean? She could be anything. Yeah.
Oh, but
Yeah.
Is this but her beginnings, Lindsay? Is
Yes
it
and
beginnings
no. I
of
don't know.
She-Ra?
Like, I don't remember enough about it. Anyway.
Oh, okay.
People might yell at me because they love it, and I apologize. If you like it, it's good, But one thing I don't like is when they reimagine something and they just have like the names of the characters, but they're not like the character. They don't have any of the qualities of the characters that the original had. And even like it doesn't necessarily have to be a continuation of the old series, but the character should have something that if you're going to call it He-Man or She-Ra or Captain Kirk or or Darth Vader, if you're going to remake a character, it should have some of the qualities at least of the character that people knew, not just it has their name and that's it, because that could be really, that could be really annoying.
Yeah.
The Anne of Green Gables series, okay, that they redid.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
They changed,
Okay.
They
Completely.
stuck, the first series was kind of okay, and then the second, it's like they changed the whole story, and then they had this whole agenda thing going. They ruined the whole thing. I was like, no, I loved Anne of Green Gables, and you've just changed it. It is no longer Anne of Green Gables.
Yeah,
it's just
right.
not.
Yeah.
It's the character's name.
And they changed the character. Like, this is this character, but this character was like this in the book. Now she's a complete different person. It's no, sorry, don't do that. Fail.
Yeah.
You ruined it.
It looks like we're having a bit of a, what's it called? Bit of a banter here, guys.
Yeah. Sorry, Lino, we're encroaching on what you watched.
No. I totally understand. Look, it looks like it's with every TV series or every movie, there is a change.
Yeah.
I think some people are trying to understand why the change is happening. Look, I'm going to go here. I am going to go here, and I may get in trouble with Dom and everyone who is listening here, but leave James Bond as he is. Are you listening to me in the world? Thank goodness I'm not on Twitter or anything like that. I'll get it.
Listen up, United Kingdom.
Yeah, leave James Bond as he is.
We've heard it.
Please.
Yeah.
Like Lindsay was saying, with every character, the character has a name, and it just how it is, eh? It just please, if you're gonna chase something.
Agreed.
Yeah,
and even with that, like they've had 1,000 James Bonds, and they've all kept
Being
some kind of
James
quality of the
Bond.
character.
Yeah.
Even the reboot of Star Trek. So I mean, there are different issues in terms of storytelling and plot, but the characters do retain something of the qualities that we understand the character to be. So
and Batman.
Exactly.
Yeah, Batman. Yeah, 1,000 Batmans. Yeah, that's
they're
right.
all still Batman.
3 different Spider-Mans.
Yeah.
Same Spider-Man.
Yeah.
That's understandable.
Yep. Oh,
Anyway.
wow, we could...
Wow.
We went from what's entertaining us to what's triggering us.
What's annoying us, yeah.
New segment. Anyway, look, for everyone who's listening, what do you think? Have we just gone off the wagon here a little bit? Or
I blame the repeated lockdowns, honestly.
Yeah, that's it. It's lockdowns, yeah. All right, so let's wrap it up there before we bring up another TV series. So we'd love to thank you so much for joining us for episode 60 of The Catholics of Oz. Before we go, we'd like to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to continue on with producing The Catholics of Oz for StarQuest. Today, we'd like to thank Giles C., Sharon W., Josh T., Patrick D., and Jonathan N. Through their generous donations at sqpn.com/give, they make it possible for The Catholics of Oz and all of the other shows at StarQuest to continue. You can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. Also, we'd love to know your thoughts about the topics we've discussed today. You can send us feedback by visiting sqpn.com/oz, where you can also find our show notes. While you're on the SQPN website, don't forget to sign up for the Insiders Club newsletter and get updates about your favorite shows. You can do that at sqpn.com/about/newsletter. Or if you are a North American listener, you can join the fan club mailing list by texting StarQuest to 66866. That's send StarQuest to 66866. You can also visit us at the SQPN Facebook page, facebook.com/StarQuestMedia. And don't forget, we have our own Catholics of Oz Facebook page as well, where we welcome anyone at facebook.com/Catholics of Oz. You can join us there to discuss our rants, I guess, TV shows, or anything else that you'd like to share with us. You can also reach us by email at catholicsofOz@sqpn.com. Caroline, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you, guys. Had a good time as usual.
And Lino, thank you so much as well.
By the power of...
And once again, I'm Lindsay Set. Thank you so much for listening to episode 60 of the Catholics of Oz on StarQuest. This episode brought to you by the power of Grayskull.
I'm going to stop recording, people don't find this.